Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Facebook Community Q&A session with Mayor Scott and members of Municipal Administration. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Adam Hardman with the Municipality. We're here to take your questions on flood recovery. If you want to get a question in, as always, you can do that in the comment box right below the video stream. That video stream will be available in its entirety following today's Facebook Live. We're aiming to stay with you today until about 3 o'clock, so get those questions in. We're going to try to answer as many as possible. As a reminder, you can always go to rmwb.ca/recovery for all the latest information on supports, resources, and the latest updates with flood recovery here in 2020. You can also sign up for those updates if you want them direct to your email inbox, so just go to rmwb.ca/recovery to do that. Of course, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Twitter and our website, and of course on the Pulse line 24/7 780 7000 rmwb.ca/pulse. So glad you could join us for this Facebook Live. I was ahead of myself. The telephone town hall will take place again on Thursday beginning at 6:10 p.m. tomorrow. So go to rmwb.ca if you'd like to sign up for that. You may already be on the call-out list. So with that, before we get to your questions, I'm going to ask Mayor Don Scott to give some opening remarks.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for that, Adam. So we're going to talk about taxes today. And although we don't often have good tax news, today we do. Last night we passed the property tax bylaw, and most people in this region and most other organizations should see a reduction in taxes for the coming year. So many of you will already be aware that we made a decision previously that property tax payments are deferred until September 30th for most people, and you should see a reduction on your 2020 property tax bill. So the reason for that is we reduced the tax burden by about $168 million. So we have a very conservative council, my colleagues and I, and we've reduced the total that we collect by $291 million since 2016. So the result of all that is that we have the lowest tax rates in the province at this time. So we're making huge leaps and bounds there. So I just want to give everyone that update. So when the tax bills do come out, you should see a reduction, and most people will. So back to you, Adam.
Well, thanks very much for that, Mayor Scott. And once again, to get your questions in, just do that in the comment box right below the live video. Mayor Scott, of course, announcing council passed last night $168 million tax reduction from 2019 to support industry, to support local business, and to support residents. So something that will help us in economic and social recovery from both COVID-19 and the 2020 floods. To just continue on that path, I know we've gotten a few questions about it. That does not mean there's a reduction in the municipal budget in 2020. It just means it's a different allocation of funds. So there's a tax cut there from last year, but there's no change to the delivery of programs and services, and of course those all important projects that will stimulate local job growth and do what's needed to be done to support the community. So we're going to get to your questions, and of course you can also check out some of the other measures that were passed at council last night. Go to rmwb.ca/recovery, but as well just on the general website, a number of measures including reduction in water billing, first reading of a temporary RV parking bylaw, and of course all taxes are actually deferred in addition to that cut until September 30th. As well, there won't be any penalties, that being the case, until October 1st. So a number of measures that were passed, and of course, as well, at the last council meeting. So this question from many people coming in online, I have a number of colleagues, friends, and people I know in the community have been asking the same thing, and I've been helping them through this. When will everyone's gas and electricity be restored by? So I'll just take a stab at this one, and if I don't answer it well, we'll ask Matthew Huff, our DCAO, but I think I can take it. We recognize this is a major challenge. We know that ATCO Gas and ATCO Electric have tripled their staff in the community to try to get that restoration done. There's a number of challenges with it, as you know. Every property is different, every neighborhood's different, so the vast majority of that work is done, but we do know that there's some people still without gas and electricity from ATCO. So you can find out the latest updates at rmwb.ca/utilities. So go there for the latest information. There's some contact information as well. So we know it's a challenge. We know they're working hard on it. We know it's a priority. So we know they're doing it the best they can. So hang in there, and we hope that it happens really soon. Our next question is going to be for our DCAO, Matthew Huff. A question we're getting from many people as well. My water smells strongly of chlorine. Is that safe?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Manny, for your question. The smell of chlorine is an indicator of the disinfection that's taking place throughout our water system. It is safe. The chlorine levels are not exceeding that which remains healthy. However, the boil water advisory is still in place. It's in place because of the turbid water that was caused by the flood. So we ask that you continue to boil the water that you're going to consume to reduce what we refer to as the aesthetic problem, the smell of chlorine. Boil your water longer, and that will certainly reduce that. For more information on this, we are adding to a frequently asked question list on our webpage, but also the Alberta Health Services website has information about boil water advisories. Thank you.
So thanks for that update, Matthew, and thank you to many of you that have that question. Unrelated to that, or I guess kind of related to that, last night at Council did pass a reduction in water bills across the community. That overall will be a $2.4 million investment in a reduction in the water fees that you will see from the municipality, understanding we're all going through in Fort McMurray and Sapphire Creek Estates presently under an AHS boil water advisory. This question's from Sonia. And she's referencing us back to May 4th. So, Sonia, we're going to do our best to answer your question this time. Sonia asks, are you going to give us information on how to clean and take care of our appliances? You said you were going to tell us how to take care of them on May 4th. Our hot water on demand system / hot water tanks / washing machines. Matthew.
Thank you, Sonia. I've overpromised and underdelivered on this information. It is in the works. Advice on how to maintain your home-based appliances. I've also promised two other pieces of information which are going to be up online shortly. One is a diagram of our water treatment plant to better explain what happened during the flood event. The other are results of water tests that took place before, during, and after the flood event to demonstrate or show everyone what happened and why the boil water advisory was put in place. Rest assured, however, that at the point of distribution, we know that the water tests are showing an absence of bacteria. That is, there is no bacteria at the points of distribution, so we are confident about that. I'll wait for the next question. Thanks.
Well, thanks so much for that, Matthew. And thank you, Sonia, for that question. We know there's a number of issues and challenges that go along with a boil water advisory, so you can always go to rmwb.ca/recovery. We'll try to get all those various points of information. Of course, you can also contact Alberta Health Services, as it is their boil water advisory. So next question here, I guess, is from both Sonia and Donna. So thanks again, Sonia. I'm going to go to Mayor Scott for this one. So the statement here is, let's talk about the 5K for people to move here. So just before Mayor steps up, I'll give you a little background. I believe on April 14th, Councillor McGrath brought forward a motion, a notice of motion that was talked about and debated last night about an incentive idea to ask administration of Wood Buffalo Economic Development to go away and come back to council around the idea of matching up to $5,000. So the employer would put in $5,000, the municipality would potentially put in $5,000 based on the proposal around incentivizing people to move and live here. So we'll ask Mayor Scott to follow up on that.
Hello again, everyone. So that's exactly right. Councillor McGrath brought a motion that the Wood Buffalo Economic Development Corporation and the municipality be directed to bring forward within 30 days a relocation pilot project for council's consideration that encourages transient workers in the RMWB to consider moving to this region, and that the relocation pilot program include incentives such as financial assistance matching of their employers for up to $5,000 for a minimum of 3 years. So one thing I would challenge anybody in this community to do is talk to 20 people and see how many of them came here and were induced by an incentive program, I bet you'll find it's a lot. One of the challenges in this region right now is after the fire, our population decreased about 10%. And some people say, well, just leave things the way they are, people will just come for jobs. I'm not seeing that happen. So if we can incentivize people to come here and get them to stop flying in and out of this community, which is something that I want people to stop doing, and I don't want people living in camps, let's get them to live in this community. If something like this can work, why not try it? You know, we can't just assume that the same path we've been on is always going to work. We need to start doing some new things. This is that new thing. So, you know, I'm very encouraged by it. I was very supportive of Councillor McGrath. It did not pass unanimously. There was lots of debate about it. But that's democracy. And, you know, I appreciate democracy. But I really believe that this will make a difference. The reason I think it's going to make a difference is I've already had one person with an organization say that they're going to take advantage of this. So already it's making a difference. So, you know, these are the times we want to get people moving to this community and contributing to this community, not just the workers, but their families. You know, it's going to increase our school enrollment. It's going to provide all the other workers we need for this region. So I'm a big fan of this pilot project, and I really believe it will make a difference.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Scott, and thank you, Sonia, for that question. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, go right ahead in that comment box right underneath the live video. The live video will be available in its entirety following today's Facebook Live. So our next question is going to be for Matthew Huff, our DCAO. We're getting many, comments about this. Of course, the Chief Medical Officer of Health will be, hopefully, we're not sure. Obviously, it depends on what the decision is going to be today, but tomorrow will be the day for stage 1 of the Alberta relaunch strategy. So we'll all watch that news conference at 3:30 today to see what the update is. But we can expect to see some of these restrictions relax. So this question's about community gardens and parks, Matthew. Question is, are we opening parks and community gardens soon?
Mary, thank you for your question. You're not the first to ask this of us over the last couple of days, and our Director of Emergency Management is following up on this question with Alberta Health Services. We expect that the parks and community gardens to be open very soon, but we are doing everything in accordance with AHS as it pertains to COVID-19. It's our desire to have those parks and community gardens open as soon as we possibly can, as soon as it's deemed safe by the AHS. So as Adam said, we may find out this afternoon more about that, and we'll act very quickly once we have the green light. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matthew, and thank you for those that have questions. Certainly something that's on the mind of a lot of us in the community as the weather gets a little bit better. But of course, we always have to follow AHS public health guidelines in response to this global pandemic that is COVID-19. This question is from, I think, Majed, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. This will be for our DCAO. Relates to the AHS Boil Water Advisory. Majed's question is the water clean downtown, or do we still have to boil it? Matthew.
Thank you for that question. The instructions are that you continue boiling water that you intend to consume. The information about this can be found through our website and also on Alberta Health Services website. Just a note on this, however, we are, of course, working to lift the boil water advisory community by community as quickly as we can. And so yesterday, Alberta Health Services lifted the BWA for the communities of Anzac and Gregoire Lake Estates. So that is progress. We will be releasing a phased set of timing for the rest of Fort McMurray. When we were first faced with the work that we have to do to remediate our systems, we believed it would be 120 days worth of work. However, a lot of that work can be done concurrently, and so a number of communities are going to see this boil water advisory lifted sooner than definitely 120 days, and we hope no longer than 60 days total from the start of May. So once we have that information, we will be sharing it with everyone. There will be some directions for what to do when the pipes are being flushed in your area, but suffice it to say, we will be doing everything we can to get as much information in your hands before that takes place. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that question. And again, for all updates, go to rmwb.ca/recovery with lots of information there, lots of resources. But we also know you have lots of questions, and that's why we're here once again today, as we will be tomorrow at 6:10 p.m. with our telephone town hall focused on flood recovery. This next question is going to be for Mayor Scott. It's from Robin. Robin is asking, what about the Northern Living Allowance being cut to some Keano staff and also childcare workers? What happens if more of us have that cut from the province? That would cause many to leave our city. Mayor Scott.
Yeah, I'm obviously very concerned about that. So that is not a decision of the municipality. It's obviously a decision, a provincial decision. One thing you can do, and if you have concerns about that issue, is talk to your MLAs or your government, your provincial government. They're the ones who make that decision. As far as making sure that people stay here, we want to make sure that this community is an amazing place, and that's why we are coming out with a lot of projects to try to make sure that people want to live here. But we're also doing things like the pilot project to make sure we're attracting new people. So I think we have a variety of things going on. These are challenging times, there's no doubt. I still say to anyone that this is still one of the best places to live in Canada, notwithstanding all the challenges, because we have billion-dollar industries in our backyard. I've had great conversations with Syncrude and Suncor about supporting this community. We gave them a huge tax cut last night, and there was a very strong understanding that that was going to enable them to keep more people in this community and hire more businesses from this region. So they're very supportive of this region. So those are two companies that I praise a lot because of their hard work. That trickles over into everything else. So, but as to the provincial decisions, I would encourage you to talk to your MLAs. It's something that we talk to them about as well, but ultimately it's their government's decision.
Well, thank you for that, Mayor Scott, and thank you for that question. Next question is from Peter Spires. Peter, good to talk to you. We haven't seen each other in a while. Too bad the Barons season got cut off short. Those who don't know him, Peter, I believe it's the same person as our wonderful, trainer and everything oil baron. So, Peter, thanks for joining us. And, of course, someone like you would have this question. Peter asks, how does someone get involved with the ESS, so that's Emergency Social Services, that ran the evacuation center? Peter, you can go online to rmwb.ca/ESS for information about how to get involved. So thank you very much. I hope to see you again soon. And of course, a huge thank you to all of our volunteers that have been so crucial in not only our response to the flood, but our recovery. So thank you once again. If you want to volunteer outside of that, you can go to wbvolunteers.ca. Next question, I'm going to take that as well, is from Ella. Ella asks, any idea when we can return to our condo, which is on Denham Gate / Longboat Landing? So Ella, one of my colleagues is actually, I believe, in the same complex. If you have not right down the street, she's actually in the room with us today. So I'm going to provide the answer that she's literally just provided to me. All residents of Heritage Landing, so that's 111 and 115 Denham Gate, were advised by the management company as of last night they could return home. So looks like you're now able to return home, and of course be in contact with us if you require any support or need any questions answered during what is obviously a challenging time. So thank you. So next question, I'm actually going to perhaps go to Mayor Scott for this one, actually. Question is from Robin. Maybe, Matthew, if you have a supplementary piece as well, but we'll go to Mayor Scott first, and perhaps we can speak about the province's disaster recovery program. Question from Robin is, how is the city going to help everyone pay for the rebuild downtown? So I'll ask Mayor Scott to take that one to start. Grab some of these here.
Yeah, the municipality has done a fair amount. We've been trying to make sure that people are housed. We've tried to facilitate the DRP program, so that's $100 million. The $100 million program is something that the province has issued, and we are lobbying for a lot more money. We're going to be lobbying for money from the federal government, more money from the provinces. We have opportunities, so we have a lot of lobbying opportunities. So we're helping everywhere we can. We've done things like waive fees at the landfill. So there's a fair amount that is going on. But the DRP, one thing, and I'm glad that it's been brought up, it's absolutely crucial that people take advantage of it. You can apply online right now. We're hoping that they're going to open up an application center in the next couple of weeks. But until they do, you can apply online. Please take pictures of all damaged items, record all time spent cleaning, repairing, and keep all the receipts you can. And if you're not sure where to go, it's the alberta.ca disaster-recovery-programs. Now, the DRP program will help you if you have a business, a home, if you're a tenant, or if you are a not-for-profit. Now, it doesn't return you to your pre-flood condition, but it is a huge help. And I'll describe the phrase they use. So if you own a business, it's going to put you in a position so that you can maintain the viability of your business. If you are a homeowner or a tenant, it's going to return you to a functional condition. If you're a not-for-profit, it's going to, once again, return you to the viability of your organization. So these are all absolutely crucial. $100 million is, we may end up needing more, but that's a great start. And we fought very hard for it. Deputy Mayor Allen and I were on many, many phone calls. I spoke to the Premier about it. We twisted many arms, so we are very pleased, and that's the biggest amount of help. There is also the help that is coming from the Red Cross at $600 per household. If you don't know about that, please register with the Red Cross, and you can obtain that. There is also the money from the province, which is $1,250 and $500. If you don't know about that, talk to MLA Layla Goodrich, and she can facilitate making sure that you get that, or if there's any delays in you receiving that. So there's a lot of help out there. Please make sure you apply to get it.
Well, thank you very much for that question, and thank you once again, Mayor Scott. So two different questions about two different topics. We'll go to Matthew for both of these. First one is from Lisa. Lisa asks, what measures are in place or being put in place about social distancing and general safety for workers and the general public? I'm seeing since the flood that social distancing is being ignored. At stores, although limiting the amount of people in them, shoppers are not maintaining social distancing. Workers are not being protected with masks. Very few people shopping are wearing masks, which is not necessarily a requirement, but understand your concern. So I'll actually allow you to answer that one first, Matthew, and then I'll read out the second one.
Thank you, Lisa, for the question. You're not wrong. COVID-19 is still part of our lives. The worldwide pandemic requires us to do certain things, particularly that which is instructed by Alberta's Chief Medical Officer. The flood, of course, made it very difficult, and some of our workers were given exemptions during that period of time. However, we are, and we should be, following social distancing guidelines. It isn't necessary to wear masks in stores. However, if that's something that you prefer to do, then certainly. So over the next couple of weeks, as we get more instructions from the Alberta government, we will be communicating that and work with our business community to ensure that that those guidelines continue to be adhered to. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Lisa. Certainly a major concern for all of us. It's a global pandemic that hasn't happened to this level in nearly 100 years. We do know that later today at 3:30, Dr. Dina Hinshaw, the Chief Medical Officer of Health for Alberta, will be having her daily press conference. Tomorrow is tentatively scheduled as stage 1 of the Alberta relaunch strategy, so she'll be providing an update on that. So probably pretty important information that's coming there. We do have 3 active cases of COVID-19. Last I checked, I think was last night, but 3 active cases. And I think across Alberta, there's 13 cases of COVID-19 in intensive care units. So if you look at that curve, and people talk about flattening the curve, that's essentially happened, especially in terms of hospitalization rates, which is the number one thing you look at, as well as intensive care unit rates, which is another thing that you look at. So we know it's still a concern, and it'll continue to be part of our lives for months to come. But make sure to check out that update today if you can, and we'll certainly on our end communicate as much information as we have to ensure that residents are safe. This question is from Bobby. I'll go back to Matthew for this, and I might be able to supplement some of it as well. Bobby asks, a motion had previously passed about support for those who were evacuated but did not go to the hotel's camps. And we recognize, Bobby, that, and especially given it's ironic coming off the question about COVID-19, there were some long lineups at the evacuation centers that people decided to make their own luck and leave. So we were certainly sensitive to that. Is there more information about that, Matthew, in terms of that support? So I'm just going to having some issues with our podium today.
Bobby, 2 things that we need you to do. One is to register, and the second is keep your receipts. The mayor spoke about registration for the DRP fund. I also encourage you to register with the Red Cross so that your information is current, and so that we can circle back to you when other funds may become available. So again, for you, for anyone else affected, if you haven't registered by now, please make that a top priority. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. And forgive me, Bobby, if I'm repeating here, because I was just talking to a colleague about our next question. I didn't hear Matthew's answer. I'm sure it was a great one. But no, being honest, they're laughing at me now. You can also go and get that GOA emergency funding. I don't know if you did mention that, as well as the Red Cross funding. All right, so we'll repeat it again, but make sure to contact the Red Cross to register. There is that $600 per household, as well as the $1,250 and $500 per child for every evacuee. Thank you. This question is going to be for Mayor Scott, and this is who I think it is. It's from Mohammed. So Mohammed, how are you? Mohammed Terabin, potentially. I'm guessing because it's Prestige Jewelers. I might be wrong, but Mohammed, good to see you. Hopefully we'll actually be able to see each other again soon. It's been a few months. Mayor, Mohammed asks, what's the municipality doing regarding the rent for small businesses, specifically those in the mall, since the mall is not willing to help at all? They are demanding the full rent for the months we are closed, and it ain't cheap, almost $20,000 per month. Is the city willing to step up and help local businesses and force the mall and tenants to charge decent rent, especially around these times? So Mayor, I'll ask you to come up. Mohammed, we don't have the ability typically as a municipality to set rental rates and things of that nature, especially if there's an existing lease. But there's certainly a lot of support we can do around taxes and other measures, but I'll allow Mayor Scott to comment.
Hello, Mohammed. So Adam got it exactly right. We have no authority to impose rent restrictions on any individual party. If it was connected to the municipality, then we have some authority. But if it's an individual company not connected to the municipality, we have zero ability to compel them to change their rental rates. What you can do is lobby your MLAs, lobby the federal government. They do have the authority to take other steps. So that's one option. We are taking the steps we can within our power, which is reducing taxes and doing things like that, which we did significantly last night. So the things that are within our power, we are taking those steps. The things that are, if I could change the rent and assist people further, obviously I think we as a council would, but we just don't have the power to do it.
Well, thanks for that, Mohammed, and thank you, Mayor Scott, for that response. I do know that whether it was the federal government or the provincial government, there was a delay on rents commercial, right? So you didn't have to with COVID-19. You were able to defer your rent, I think, for May 1st, and I think June 1st as well. But certainly that's something we can all look into from a lobbying perspective. That's something that needs to continue. But like Mayor Scott, we'll control what we can as a municipality. And thank you so much for the question. Margaret has a question. So does, that's the same one, as well as Sandra. So I'll read both out, Matthew, and they're both about our boil water advisory from AHS. Margaret asks, what's in our water? We exceeded turbidity guidelines, but what elements, safe or not, were causing that turbidity? Dogs and children have both accidentally consumed some, and I want to understand the health risks. And Margaret as well asks, any updates on the boil water advisory and when Timberley might have access to clean water? What steps will homeowners need to take to clean their lines, taps, fridges, water softeners, water tanks, etc.? And Sandra asks, can we use this water to fill our pools? So Matthew, let's leave that there for you.
Okay, thank you everyone for your questions. I'll work through them as best I can. What is in our water? We exceeded turbidity guidelines. As mentioned on previous days, the level of the river enabled water to blend with our treated water. It entered through an outfall pipe, something that we're going to put a diagram of online very shortly, and are investigating to ensure that it doesn't ever happen again. Excuse me. As far as what elements are causing that turbidity, in the first couple of days following the flood, you would have noted that there was quite a bit of silt that got through the system, sandy material. And so the reason the boil water advisory is put in place is to mitigate the risk of any type of bacteria being present with that silt. Now, since then, the water treatment plant has been completely cleaned, and so the water that we're now distributing through the system is meeting all guidelines, particularly at the point of distribution where there is no bacteria present. What has happened, however, is that our pipes, the inside of our pipes, have been coated. And an analogy that I used previously is that of milk in a glass, milk that may have sat on the counter for a couple of days. It takes a bit more than just running water to wash that out, to clean that properly. And so that's why the boil water advisory stays in place. That's why we are about to embark upon a flushing and disinfection program for all of our 375 kilometers of pipe. I hope that helps. As far as Timberley specifically, Margaret was also asking about that. The phased timing that I've been promising for a couple of days and that we'll have in your hands as soon as possible will indicate when Timberley will likely see the boil water advisory lifted. And I have seen a draft Timberley will likely be one of the earlier communities to see that BWA lifted. However, I'll stop short of landing on a date at the moment. As soon as we have that final schedule, it'll be shared with everybody. And Sandra asked about using the water to fill pools, and I did speak about this on previous days also. There's nothing wrong with using this water to fill your pool as long as your pool chemistry is what it should be. And so you should be doing your home-based tests. You should be adding chemicals as required to keep the balances necessary to make that pool what it needs to be to swim in. Thank you.
So thanks so much for that, Matthew, and thank you all of you for your questions. I think we got about 20 minutes remaining in today's community Q&A with Mayor Scott and members of municipal administration. Make sure to get your question in the comment box. We do our best to take a look at all the questions coming in, group them in themes. We know there's a number of issues, challenges, concerns, questions you might have, so we do our best to get to as many as we can. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 6:10 p.m. with our weekly telephone town hall, now focused on flood recovery. Of course, always go to rmwb.ca/recovery, sign up for real-time updates, get the latest information, connect with us there. So series of questions about power and condo units. I'm going to take a stab at these as well, but maybe Mayor Scott would like to weigh in on the back end of it. Question from Denise. Why hasn't all the downtown power been restored yet? Denise, great question. Certainly it's been a major challenge. We do know that ATCO Electric, as well as ATCO Gas, but your question being about electricity, they've tripled the staff that they normally do. It's incredibly challenging with the downtown grid, but we know they're working as fast as they can. We know it's not a perfect situation, but bear with us. Of course, we do have that accommodation support for people where it's not safe for them to return to their homes. So please make sure to connect with that, but they're working as hard as they can. We know it's a challenge, and they'll get there as quickly as they can. So questions, a couple here about situations with condos, and I'll read both of them, and I'll maybe go to Mayor Scott. Andrea asks, why aren't homeowners and taxpayers allowed to return to the Currents on Fontaine Crescent? Why hasn't the power been restored, and why haven't people be provided a timeline for return? So Andrew, you may have heard my question about power, so it'd be the same one for you. Certainly with condominiums and apartments, they are owned privately. The municipality doesn't have the authority to execute that at this time, but certainly you can contact Service Alberta, Service Canada. We do have a landlord-tenant advisor here in the Neighborhood Community Development Branch of the municipality, so connect through the Pulse line. She might be able to get you some avenues there. And question from Jenny along the same lines, does anyone have any updated info on Liam condos above Napa? We were told 2-3 months. Has anything changed? So I know that's not a great answer. Keep connecting with your property owner. We do know there's various challenges, but we'll also ask Mayor Scott to come forward as well, if you can, Mayor, maybe with the legal aspect.
Yeah, the answer that was given is exactly right from the municipal perspective. If you're concerned from a legal perspective, I would encourage you to consult a law firm, not my law firm. I don't want anyone to accuse me of a conflict, but some other law firm in town. There's plenty who will give independent legal advice, and they often give a free consultation. So consider that avenue. But from a municipal perspective, we cannot compel a management company to let somebody in. So you need to work with the management company to see if you can work through that. From a legal perspective, please consult a law firm, not my law firm, another law firm, and they might be able to assist in that way.
Well, thank you, folks, for the questions. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Mayor Scott. And sorry, Mayor, for stealing a bit of your thunder there off the top, but just trying to provide as many answers as we can today on our telephone, on our Facebook, on our Facebook Live here today. Okay, so the question here is from Elsie. Sorry, Elsie, I was just getting clarification on her question. Wasn't sure exactly what it was about. So it's about cleaning, I'm told. So question here from Elsie, and I'll go to Matthew for this. What about the water going through fridges? Haven't heard an answer about that. So, Matthew.
Right, so the same rule applies, that if you're going to consume water during a boil water advisory, it should be brought to a rolling boil first. And again, if you're interested in changing the aesthetic, that is decreasing the smell of chlorine, then boil it for longer. I am, of course, well aware that many fridges have ice makers and water dispensers, but the same rule applies. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Matthew, and thank you, Elsie, for the question. We're going to go to Mayor Scott in just a minute on our next question, but I'm going to take one first. It's from Shirley. Shirley is asking, Are the malls open tomorrow as well? Surely great question. Of course, we're still in response from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Alberta relaunch strategy is expected to begin tomorrow. You can find out the information about that at alberta.ca/COVID-19. Now, of course, it's all dependent on technical difficulty here with the system, so our apologies. I know I was right in the middle of a response to you, Shirley, so again, we apologize, but we're glad to have you back. Get those questions in the comment box right below the live video stream. And Shirley, you did ask, are the malls open tomorrow as well? I think I was partway through an answer, so I'll try to give a truncated, summary of that. You can go to alberta.ca/COVID-19 for the list of, stage one under the Alberta relaunch strategy. There's a number of different businesses and types of services that are listed there, so getting the okay, of course, still with a number of public health restrictions. Some of those types of stores or businesses may be in the malls across the region. We're not aware of that. That's an individual decision based on what the CMOH is doing, as well as those particular stores being private businesses. But you can check out that full list at alberta.ca/COVID-19. Of course, the CMOH will announce today whether we're going to move to that stage one relaunch strategy beginning tomorrow. Next question is from Bobby. It's going to be for Mayor Scott. Bobby asks, has the additional information about motion 2, and I think, Mayor, that was your second part of your motion that was passed last Wednesday at our special council meeting, has it been provided? Where can I find out? Related to, quote, costs associated with reimbursing residents for food and accommodations who were evacuated but did not register at the onset of the evac, but have since registered with the Red Cross. This reimbursement will be the same as the costs covered by the municipality for evacuees that registered and stayed in emergency accommodations. Additional details on how to apply for reimbursement will be announced in the days ahead, close quote. So Mayor Scott.
I'm going to give you an email that you can send a note to and ask for more information. It's Jamie, Jamie, period, Doyle, Doyle, at rmwb.ca, and he'll get the information out to you. And I'm assuming that there's going to be some sort of a release at some point, but until then, Jamie, Jamie, period, Doyle, Doyle, at rmwb.ca, and his team will get the information to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Scott. Certainly that motion was passed. There will have to be a reimbursement program. So we certainly appreciate everybody for registering as an evacuee, whether that was initially during the, initial emergency or with the Red Cross. Certainly make sure to register with the Red Cross. A number of supports available. There's the GOA emergency funding. There's the additional Red Cross funding. So make sure to do that if you haven't already. I'm going to ask someone to hand me the next question because I think I got through the ones that I did have. And this question is from Craig, and Craig's a very timely question because I know that a few of us at the municipality experienced a little bit of this yesterday in the area you're talking about. Craig is asking, can bylaw and police enforcement be increased in the SAP area? So that's the Syncrude Athletic Park, formerly known as the Timberley Athletic Park up in Timberley. God, I'd love to play softball again, but probably not going to happen, is it, CMOH? As it seems to be the Wild West up and in around this area with vandalism, drag racing, loitering, and littering. An easy solution would be to close off the parking lots there, as there is no need for access if there are no activities going on at this time. Residents are frustrated with this nightly ongoing. Craig, very good question, very understandable. We'll ask Matthew to answer that.
Thank you, Craig, and I'll follow up with our RCMP and bylaw groups to ask them to increase their visits to that area, and I'll also follow up with our Parks group to take a look at what measures are already being taken in that area to keep people out of that space. So thank you for raising the concern, though. I also wanted to address an earlier question from Elsie. She was asking about cleaning of fridge ice dispensers and water dispensers. My apologies. I think I got your question or interpreted your question incorrectly. If you're asking about the cleaning of those fridge dispensers following the boil water advisory, that's something that we have committed to providing some information on, found in our FAQ, frequently asked question list on the boil water advisory. So this is something that that is coming up with other information that I've referred to earlier this hour. Thanks.
So we got about the trouble with this room, guys. I have to look around to look at the clock. So just give me 1 second. We have about 8 minutes remaining here in our Facebook Live here today. Thanks for joining us for this community Q&A with Mayor Scott, as well as members of municipal administration. We'll be back tomorrow with our telephone town hall at 6:10. You can register at rmwb.ca. You may already be getting the call out already. So I'm going to take one here from Laura, and then we're going to go to Matthew again with a question from Lynn. First one's from Laura. She's asking, when will the parks be open? I think the short answer, Laura, is whenever it's safe to do so under the guidelines of Alberta Health Services and the Chief Medical Officer of Health. Again, tune in today to Dr. Hinshaw, the Chief Medical Officer of Health, 3:30 at alberta.ca. Tomorrow is scheduled to be tentatively stage 1 of Alberta's relaunch strategy. So you can find out all the details at alberta.ca/COVID-19. But certainly we're in constant dialogue with AHS and our partners there. So whenever it is safe to do so based on that medical advice, we'd look to do so and we'd look to tell you about it. So thank you. This question's from Lynn. Certainly, this has been a discussion in the community over the last few days, so good question, Lynn. Thank you. Lynn is asking, so was the flooding due to the overburden of water from the ice buildup? Wouldn't that be overland water? Or was it because the drain and sewer system did not support the volume? Huge difference with insurance claims. Lynn, great question. Matthew.
Thank you, Lynn, for giving me an opportunity to speak to this today. Just so that you know, your mayor and councillor brought us the same question, and RMWB administration are following up on this. Specifically, what this has to do with is the mechanism of the flood. Now, I caution you that the Athabasca reached a 1 in 100 year level. So this is a flood of the century. The Clearwater reached a 1 in 40 year level. So these were unprecedented floods. The specific mechanism within the lower townside area that caused flooding is something that we're taking a very close look at. And so rest assured, this issue is not lost on us, and we're going to provide all the information we can to those who are trying to work with their insurance companies and move forward in returning to their homes to the state they were in before the flood. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, thanks for the question. We got about 5 minutes remaining, so make sure to get those questions in. Right below the live video in those comment boxes, we thank you all again for joining us on this community Q&A with Mayor Scott, as well as members of your RMWB administration in flood recovery together. This question is from Zakaria. Zakaria, my apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. You're asking what will be open tomorrow. So we'll continue to answer this one. I think it depends on what Dr. Hinshaw, the Chief Medical Officer of Health, announces today, beginning at 3:30. You can go to alberta.ca/COVID-19. There's a relaunch strategy, the detailed listings of the various stages, what different types of businesses and services and activities would be reopened in the various stages. So stage 1, you'll find, is tentatively scheduled to begin tomorrow, so you can find that full list on that website, but it'll depend, of course, on conditions being met from a public health perspective. So we urge everyone to tune in to Dr. Hinshaw's announcement today or read about it after it's completed. So like I said, if you have any additional questions, get them in at right in the comment box right below the live video. I'm just going to ask for another one here. So a couple comments here, and maybe we'll provide some clarification on this, and we'll have Mayor Scott maybe speak to it as well as a council issue. So Joanne is asking, we have enough people in town unemployed and don't need council to try and bring more people into the mix with a promise of 5K. And an additional comment that residents that have already invested in the community aren't eligible for the 5K. So maybe have Mayor Scott just speak to kind of the no stone unturned approach. Certainly we recognize that. Motion passed last night was to explore this as an option, as an incentive. There's a number of incentives available in the community, and administration and Wood Buffalo Economic Development would have to come back to council with those options. So there's nothing been decided yet or passed, but they would have to come back with those options. So Mayor Scott.
Good point. These are for individuals who are already commuting into this community. So it's not for people that we're just trying to bring here so that they can sit here and wonder what they're going to do. There are tremendous numbers of people. There's obviously 30,000 people by the last census that are living in camps. But there's a lot of people who are commuting in and out of this region. We want some of those people to start living here. I would prefer all of them to start living here. So let's get as many as we can living here, and that's the purpose of the motion. So it's not just for anybody to move to the region. It's for those who are already commuting. It's to give their employers an incentive to get them to move to this region. We've seen house prices collapse. We've lost 10% of our population. It's true that there are people who are unemployed, but these are people who are already working, but they don't live here. Those are the people that are really being targeted. Let's get them here and move here. It can only help this region. It can help our economy. It can help, house prices and local restaurants once they open up. So it's going to help everybody.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mayor Scott, and thank you for those comments and those questions. We'll be back again next week with another Facebook Live, Wednesday, 2 to 3, with Mayor Scott as well as members of municipal administration. Our telephone town hall every week, Thursday. This week will be at 6:10 p.m., focused on flood recovery. You may want to check out rmwb.ca/recovery. All the info there. You can sign up for live updates. Of course, you can always follow the municipality on Facebook, on Twitter, or by contacting the Pulse line at 780-743-7000, rmwb.ca/pulse. Stay connected, stay informed, stay safe. Thanks for joining us here once again. We'll talk to you again very soon.